How's it going, guys? I'm Chase Lee reporting for DallasMovieScreens.com, and I am reporting for the Asian Film Festival of Dallas. This is the 2016 15th annual Asian Film Festival of Dallas. And, I was really excited to see a bunch of movies, but in all reality, I basically just saw one split into two movies. That's essentially the TV show that I could watch on Netflix. And what do I mean by that? I'm going to be reviewing Attack on Titan Part 1 and Part 2. They were the only two movies that I saw at the festival, so I figured I'd review them for you guys, and it should be a lot of fun. It's going to be a very long, epic review, so, I'm going to be doing I'm not going to be reviewing both parts individually. I'm going to be reviewing as a whole 4-hour experience, and, let's get this started. If you guys don't know what Attack on Titan is, it's based off of a manga series from Japan, and then it moved to television, which had its first season run with I think 25 episodes or whatnot. And part one of the movie is the first 13 episodes cut into 2 hours, and then part two is the remaining episodes, and that's how the movies were constructed and whatnot. So if you guys don't know what it is in terms of plot and stuff, I got the plot synopsis handy dandy, my little film festival book. Here's what part one is. I'm going to try to read it as fast as possible and as epic as possible. Over 100 years before the beginning of the story, giant humanoid creatures called Titans appeared and nearly wiped out humanity, devouring them without remorse. What remains of humanity now resides within the three enormous concentric walls. The outermost is Wall Maria, the middle wall is Wall Rose, and the innermost is Wall Sheena. Inside these walls, humanity has lived in uneasy peace for 100 years. This all changes when one day a giant 200 feet tall, 200 feet, is it feet, foot? I don't know. Tall Titan mysteriously appears after a strike of lightning breaches the outer wall of Shingani. I'm gonna have trouble with these names, guys. I'm sorry, guys. A town at Wall Maria, so it's on the outer wall, allowing the smaller Titans to invade the district. This forced mankind to abandon the land between Wall Maria and Wall Rose, evacuating the remaining population into the inner districts. The sudden influx of population caused turmoil and famine. All right, and then part two, it picks up right after part one left off. As the Trost District is reclaimed from the Titans, Eren is taken under the wing of Captain Levi and his squad, who decides to try and teach him to master his mysterious abilities. And that's all I'm going to say, because I honestly don't want to get into the plot in great detail in this review. I want you guys to see this and kind of experience it for yourself and whatnot, because that's what I really like about these animated movies and anime in general, is that you don't really want to know what's happening, man. You just want to go in there and just have a fun time with it and maybe get a little extra out of it. So let's review Attack on Titan Part 1, which is the Crimson Bow and Arrow, I believe. And then Part 2 is Wings of Freedom. They are 2 hours apiece, lumped together. You got a 4-hour-long movie, so it's 4 hours of 25-hour, television content crammed into 4. So how did it do? That's the main question. How did it flow as a movie? That's what we're here to review. So let's get real and break this down. I know it was a long intro, guys, but it's kind of difficult to explain and whatnot. So I did the best I could, right? So starting with the writing and directing, let's start with the writing. Now, I never read the manga series of Attack on Titan. I kind of want to now, because after seeing this movie, I was entertained quite thoroughly. I really loved kind of this fantasy element of this story, and how just chaotic it got, and how inventive and creative it got. And I really just kind of found myself in this universe, which can't really see happening in reality, but I still saw myself in this universe, and I was really just kind of invested in the characters and stuff. I was on their journey, and I was on their path to whatever they were trying to do in the movie. I was all on board. So I think for story-wise, I was interested all throughout, and I was on board from start to finish. However, since this is 4 hours long and it's condensing from 25 hours to 4, there are apparent holes missing, and it does have some jumps that you're just like, I kind of wish I can know what happened in between there and get a little extra flavor to develop these characters of the story or whatever. So I can sense it in the way the movie was structured. You can tell there was some stuff missing, and I think for what they did in 4 hours is the best they could have done. And it was definitely a good story flow, and you didn't really get lost. Everything made sense and stuff, but you can feel those apparent holes missing from the actual season 1 of the television show, because that's what it is essentially. And you can feel like there's some subplots missing or whatnot. But in terms of like the main story, I feel like they nailed it pretty damn well. In terms of the way it's written, I really like the dialogue. It's very heartfelt in some scenes. It's very snappy. It's actually kind of funny in some scenes. It's very poignant in some scenes, and it's really well written. I have no complaints on that whatsoever, even with the apparent cuts in between scenes, because you know they had to cram it down. So the writing overall is very, very strong. And even the characters that are written, the 3 main characters, every single one of them has got their time to shine. They all have their emotional moments and stuff. Even all the side characters were interesting and whatnot. So I think all of the characters as well were really well developed and really well written and stuff. So I have no problem with that. Directing-wise, I believe it's the same guy that directed both of them. That would be a yes. So this guy was at task to bring a 25-hour-long season 1 TV show into 4 hours. And like I said, I think for the most part, he did do that. And what I like about this story in general, and I think the director really kind of honed in on these certain aspects, is I think this is a great commentary on like war and like upper class versus, you know, middle class people, you know, the social divide or whatnot, which is, you know, what those walls represent and whatnot. It's a story about vengeance. It's a story of, you know, I'm trying to be very careful of what I say so I don't spoil anything, but maybe a story about obsession, if you will. That's more in kind of like part 2. There's just a lot of great mature elements kind of thrown throughout this thing that I think the director really kind of honed in and really kind of put a spotlight on some of these scenes and certain attributes of characters and whatnot to really kind of heighten the emotional impact and intensity that is Attack on Titan. Because when you have these like you know, people fighting against these 200 foot tall titans or whatever, it can get pretty epic and pretty daunting and stuff, and you got to really kind of play in with those emotional moments within the characters. And I think they, for the most part, the director did that very, very well and did a very good job for the most part, cramming it down into a 4-hour story that, you know, a simpleton like me can understand, because I don't want to sit through 25 episodes. I will say, I forgot this in the writing, the movie does end on a cliffhanger. I'm talking like at the end of part 2. Now, part 1 ends on a cliffhanger, but it immediately picks up in part 2. So I don't even count that. It's stuck together as a 4-hour long movie. But the way it ends at the end of part 2 is a definite season 2 type of cliffhanger, which makes sense because Attack on Titan is scheduled to have a season 2 run and whatnot, so it will continue the story. So I do feel like the director did the best he could in terms of ending the story properly, but it ends on such a huge cliffhanger, it feels like a TV show and not really like a movie per se, and not like a definite ending. There is a slight ending, but the way it just kind of trails off, you know, it's like, oh man, you know there's going to be more type of deal. So I kind of wish I would have had more of a definitive ending, but once again, they did pretty damn well for being a 4-hour long movie. Let's get to the acting, the voice acting, if you will. Now, listen, I am a huge fan of anime. I really like the art that comes with this genre of filmmaking. However, I know anime is sometimes heightened to extremes a little bit, and you know, it's kind of overblown in terms of its voice acting. I get that. That's a part of the genre. I feel like some of the voice acting in terms of like the epic scenes or even the emotional scenes were, you know, the voice acting can get a little intense with the audio levels and stuff, and you know, they're yelling all their lines instead of really kind of delivering that emotional punch that you would want from a scene. It didn't bother me too much, but I do feel like they could have honed it back just a little bit in terms of, you know, just shouting every single line. But when it was time to be epic in the story, it really came through very well, especially during the action set pieces. Those are really great too. Once again, guys, this is a lot to review and stuff. Sometimes stuff will just escape me. But yeah, the action scenes were really well handled. And when those characters are in that and the voice acting is carrying that through, bringing the characters to life, it really kind of just makes it come to life even more with that epic, voice coming from these actors and stuff. All the quieter moments were great. I loved all the quieter moments between all three of the main characters, because every single one of them had a sad backstory and a sad moment within their arc and whatnot. And those emotional moments with the voice casting were just so tender and intimate and stuff. And I really felt for these characters, even though I realized that these are animated people on screen. They're not even real. So I really have to attribute that to the voice work in this. It's really well handled, but like I said, it can get a little out of hand with the intensity in some of the scenes. In terms of the cinematography, it's shot super, super well. It kind of reminded me of like a Lord of the Rings type of epic fantasy feel. I loved all the action set pieces and stuff of all these people in the scout regiment and whatnot fighting these titans, and you can feel the epic scope of these giant humanoid creatures, which are very disturbing, by the way. But you can feel the epic scope when these people are fighting them. And, you get into the smaller kind of like somber moments. It's lit well. And in terms of, where they're placed at in the scene and whatnot, it's kind of really hard to talk about the cinematography and animation in general, but the way it is drawn and the way it is colored in, and just I love that anime style. It kind of looks rough and gritty, but still has like that fun kind of fantasy element to it as well. So it's almost like it's like half and half, like half set in reality, half set in fantasy and stuff. So I think for the most part, the cinematography and just the way it's kind of drawn out feels like that epic adventure that you want to go on with these characters and stuff, especially the main character, man. He's all about that vengeance, and you want to follow him on this epic quest. And I think the way it is animated and whatnot, especially in the action scenes are really, really well handled. So good, and it's just so much fun to watch. I realize the manga is probably really popular, but it's really kind of cool to see this kind of happen in front of you on screen, especially when you're dealing with creatures of this magnitude versus, people like us, fighting these things. Editing wise, for each part, which is about 2 hours and 15 minutes, give or take, I felt like it flew by really, really fast. As soon as part one starts, you should be invested into it. It starts out with, like I said in the synopsis, this 200-foot tall creature luring over a wall, and these people in this town are just looking up at it, and then it busts through. That is a damn good hook to start any movie, and that totally got me into it and stuff. Because here's what I forgot to tell you guys. I actually saw the first episode of Attack on Titan before I saw this movie. So I saw the pilot. I knew what was going to happen and stuff, but I didn't know anything beyond that because I didn't continue it. But I even remember from the show, I was hooked and stuff, and you could just feel kind of like the energy in the audience and stuff. Once the movie started happening, you could feel that, like, it just engagement in the room, and you're like, yeah, I'm along for this adventure and stuff. So I think for the most part, the way it's kind of paced out and the way it's edited, even though you can kind of tell where the holes are, because once again, it's kind of hard to condense 25 hours of content into 4, but they did a good job for basic audiences like me that don't like to watch 25 hours worth, even though I really want to. I'm definitely going to go back and watch this, by the way. But in terms of the way it's paced out and stuff, I think it's really well handled. The slower moments don't drag on. The epic scenes, feel like they happen in 30 seconds because they're so fast and so fun and stuff. You're just really kind of engaged in this environment. So I think for the most part, it's paced out very, 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 very well. And I cannot wait to see season 2 and go back and see season 1. Overall, guys, I think this is a very solid piece of anime. It's a very cool kind of dark fantasy epic adventure type of movie with the themes of, like I said, like vengeance and social class dividings and justice and who's the actual monster, humanity or the monsters and stuff. And there's so much more beyond that. And obsession, like I said in part 2, and how obsession can control someone and turn them into an evil person. Like I said, there's so much going on, but there's just a lot to take from it in terms of stuff to stimulate your brain with, in terms of, lessons and whatnot. And then there's also that entertainment factor. But there are those apparent holes and whatnot you can tell that are missing from the TV show, but I do give them props for doing a basic story for simpletons like me that don't want to sit through 25 hours worth of content. However, after watching this, I do want to go back and revisit it. The voice acting is really well done in the quieter moments, can get a little out of hand in the louder moments and stuff, but I realize that is anime style. I know I've seen a lot of them, but yeah, overall, guys, I really enjoy this one quite a bit. I would recommend it to anyone that doesn't want to sit through season 1 of Attack on Titan, but I do recommend watching the season because you probably get more out of it. But in terms of the way the movies are presented, I think there's a really well handled for the TV show. Cannot wait for season 2. My score for Attack on Titan Part 1 and Part 2 lumped together as a 4-hour epic movie, I'm going to give B+. So what did you guys think of Attack on Titan? And please let me know down below in that comment place that's right below my face. And let me know what you thought of the TV show season 1 and stuff. And did you see the movies and how much did they cut out and whatnot? Please let me know because I want to go back and rewatch it and stuff. So, and if you guys saw Part 1 or Part 2, do you think they worked better separately, together, or whatnot? So please let me know in the comments right below my face and let me know. And on a side note, before I exit out of this thing, those Titans are creepy as hell. Every single time when one of them came on screen, I was like, that kind of looks like a weird version of like a drunk uncle somewhere. Like it looks so, it looks so gross. So yeah, those Titans look weird, man. But yeah, Attack on Titan, recommended highly, B+. I am Chase Lee, guys, reporting for DallasMovieScreenings.com. And this was my only coverage of the 2 films I saw at the Asian Film Festival of Dallas. I'm glad I saw Attack on Titan. Been wanting to see it for a long time. I will see you guys later for whatever I review next. Peace out, everyone.